It was a routine flight from Istanbul to Amsterdam, passengers relaxed, unaware of the danger ahead. As the Boeing 737 descended, a hidden fault in its instruments silently pushed the engines to idle. Speed dropped, alarms blared, but it was too late. In seconds, the aircraft stalled and broke apart in a muddy field, just short of the runway. This is the shocking story of Turkish Airlines Flight 1951.
Mayday, Thompson 253 Hotel, next.
On February 25, 2009. Turkish Airlines Flight 1951 prepared for its short journey from Istanbul to Amsterdam. A Boeing 737-800, carrying 128 passengers and 7 crew members. To everyone on board, it was just another routine morning flight. But within hours, this journey would end in disaster. In a muddy Dutch field, just short of the runway at Amsterdam's Schiphol airport. The captain is Hassan Tahsin Arisen, 54 years old, a highly experienced aviator with more than 17,000 hours of flight time. He is well respected at Turkish Airlines, a mentor to younger pilots. Sitting beside him, the first officer, Murat Sezer, 42 years old, a skilled pilot with nearly 5,000 flight hours. And in the jump seat, observing the flight as part of his training, is safety pilot Alkay Özgür, just 28 years old. Together, they form a cockpit team that blends wisdom, skill, and ambition. At 8 a.m., ground crews finish the final checks. At 8:22 a.m. local time, clearance is given. The pilots guide Flight 1951 to runway 36R. The engines spool up, their roar echoing across the tarmac. Passengers feel the vibration through their seats as the Boeing surges forward. In the cockpit, Captain Arisen calls, V1. Rotate. First Officer Sezer pulls back gently on the control column. The nose rises, and the wheels lift off the ground. The aircraft climbs gracefully into the skies above Istanbul, banking toward the northwest, setting course for Amsterdam. As the city shrinks below, passengers settle in the 3-hour journey ahead. To them, it feels like every other flight. Smooth, routine, uneventful. But hidden deep inside the aircraft's systems, one critical instrument, the left radio altimeter, is already malfunctioning. No one knows it yet, but this tiny fault will set the stage for tragedy, just hours later. As the aircraft descended towards Schiphol, air traffic controllers cleared it for approach to runway 18R, also known as the Poldervan. At this point, the plane was around 2,000 feet above the ground. The pilots activated the autothrottle and autopilot systems, trusting Boeing's technology to guide the plane safely in. But inside the cockpit, a silent error occurred. The captain's radio altimeter, a critical instrument, incorrectly showed that the aircraft was already at ground level, -8 feet. This faulty reading triggered the autothrottle to reduce engine thrust to idle, as if the plane had already touched down. Slowly, dangerously, the aircraft began to lose speed. For several minutes, the situation went unnoticed. The crew was busy monitoring descent checklists, communicating with ATC, and preparing for landing. The engines, however, were barely providing thrust. Airspeed bled away. In the cabin, passengers looked out the window, some even smiling, expecting a routine landing. No one had any idea that Flight 1951 was on the edge of an aerodynamic stall. The only clues were subtle: the quiet engines, the sluggish feel of the aircraft. But in modern cockpits, trust in automation can be deadly. Suddenly, the stick shaker activated, a violent vibration of the control column, warning the pilots the plane was stalling. The crew reacted, pushing the throttles forward. But the auto-throttle system, still following the faulty altimeter, immediately pulled them back to idle again. Seconds ticked by. The 737 pitched nose up, speed dropping rapidly. Passengers felt the aircraft shake, some screamed as the nose pointed higher, the engines eerily quiet. In the cockpit, confusion reigned. They tried to recover, but altitude was running out. Just 500 feet above the ground, there was no time left. At 10:26 a.m., Turkish Airlines Flight 1951 slammed into a muddy field, just 1.5 kilometers short of the runway. The impact tore the Boeing into 3 sections. The cockpit crushed, the fuselage broken, landing gear ripped away. 9 people, including all 3 pilots, died instantly. Over 120 others were injured, some critically, some trapped inside the wreckage. But miraculously, the plane did not catch fire. This single detail saved countless lives. Survivors stumbled through broken seats and twisted metal, shocked and dazed, as rescuers rushed to the scene. Emergency crews scrambled, but confusion delayed their arrival. For almost 30 minutes, survivors clung to life in the freezing mud. Some passengers crawled out through shattered fuselage walls, stumbling across farmland, covered in blood and dirt. When firefighters and medics finally arrived, they pulled survivors through jagged openings, carrying children, comforting the injured. Stretchers lined the muddy field. 9 people, including all 3 pilots, were gone forever. But 126 lived, each carrying scars that would last a lifetime. In the days after the crash, attention turned to why. The Dutch Safety Board recovered the black boxes, analyzing every second of the flight. The data revealed a shocking truth: the captain's radio altimeter had failed, showing the plane was already at ground level. This false signal fooled the auto-throttle, which pulled the engines back to idle, just when thrust was needed most. The pilots didn't notice until it was too late. Investigators also discovered something even more troubling. Similar altimeter issues have been reported in Boeing 737s before, yet warnings to crews were limited. This was not just a technical failure, it was a failure of communication, of training, and of safety culture. The final report concluded that Turkish Airlines Flight 1951 was lost because of 3 factors: a faulty altimeter, an auto-throttle system that trusted bad data, and a crew overwhelmed in the final moments. For aviation, the lessons were painful but clear. Pilots worldwide were reminded to always monitor airspeed and thrust during approach. Boeing issued new guidance on altimeter failures. Airlines updated training, focusing on manual flying skills and not relying blindly on automation. From tragedy came progress, but the price was 9 precious lives. For the families left behind, no technical explanation could ease the pain. Mothers, fathers, children, all taken in an instant. Survivors remember the quiet hum of the engines dying, the sudden jolt, the terror of impact. Some walked away alive, but their hearts remained with those who never did. Turkish Airlines Flight 1951 stands as a heartbreaking reminder that aviation, though safer than ever, is built on lessons written in grief. In the fields outside Amsterdam, where wreckage once lay, the memory of that February morning still lingers, a silent tribute to the lives lost, and a warning for the future. This was the story of Turkish Airlines Flight 1951, a journey that began as routine and ended in tragedy.